What's up, sports bettors? I have 3 parlays, 1 straight bet, including this bad boy, 1.1K to win 13.5K. We're going to get into it, the math, the strategy, everything. So as I always say, I obviously want to give you guys winning plays. Hopefully you guys are able to tail all these plays, but this market is dynamic, right? You can see here, lines are moving. Line movements are actually highlighted on this little screen in different colors, depending on which way the line moves. But essentially, sports betting is a market, right? It's open 24/7. Out of the millions of odds across sportsbooks, your job as a sharp bettor is like a day trader. You're hunting for those few rare betting opportunities that are actually profitable. Like when I was a trader, this reminds me of that exactly, right? I hunt through OddsJam using it as my Bloomberg terminal, trying to see where the value is. So I know I've already given out some plays, but let's go ahead, let's get into more. Starting with, let's start with WinBet. So we might as well. So first, actually, we can go here. What do we want to start with? I don't know. Well, first we can start with this 4-leg parlay, because why not? We have Howard plus 8.5, under 134.5, Northern Kentucky, Florida Gulf Coast, under 145, Mercer, Florida State, UT, Rio Grande Valley, plus 2.5. Why do we like them? Again, this is value, right? You're always looking for value. I say this all the time, but it's very difficult to just beat. Sorry, I cut out for a second, but what I was going to say is beat the sports books. Okay, so beat the sports books. It's very hard, right? These sports books have invested hundreds of millions of dollars into their ability to set lines in their markets, right? There's probably hundreds of millions, maybe not, I don't know, maybe more, maybe less, I'm not sure the exact amount of dollars bet on college basketball today. These are efficient betting markets. All these sports books are taking volume on these games, moving around lines as sharp action comes in, as news comes out, right? So you're really not going to just look at Monday Night Football and be able to be like, the 49ers are winning, they're worth betting at minus 400. That is a surefire way to lose money sports betting, right? Because that assumes you think you're smarter than everyone else betting on the game, which is millions, tens of millions of people. And you also assume that you're smarter than the sports books who have invested hundreds of millions of dollars. So long story short, the easiest way to make money betting on sports is, because these bookies have different odds, is you ruthlessly compare lines between sports books, and you look for those rare few betting opportunities. I mean, you can see over a 1% profit margin. There's only a few plays on OddsJam. Out of the millions of odds on sports books, there's not that many bets with an edge. But here's an example of one. We got Howard plus 8.5. All the sports books have it, minus 118 to minus 145. Pinnacle, sharpest bookmaker in the world, they have this minus 127. We're getting minus 110 on WinBet. Seems pretty good. And you do that, essentially, for every single bet. And when you place a parlay, we have a bunch of videos about parlay betting strategy. But whenever you're placing a parlay, the edge compounds. So if you have a 2% profit margin, then another one, your parlay has a 4% profit margin, roughly. So let's go ahead and, I'll show you an example of one of the plays, what I like to do. So here's this, Rio Grande Valley bet we ended up locking in. So you can see right here, WinBet has them plus 2.5 at minus 110. And what you're going to notice is most other sports books, they have the spread at 2. Or they have the spread at, BetOnline, DraftKings. They have their mainline spread at 1.5. BetOnline, a sharp offshore sports book, they're at 1.5 as well, minus 108, minus 112, slightly juiced towards Western Illinois. So we use all this information in the market. Where's FanDuel setting their line, right? To try to tease out where there's value. And not all of these sports books offer these alternate spreads. But when you're betting at minus 110 juice, I say it all the time, but people always get confused, that bet could still lose. And it's yeah, it could. But when you're betting at minus 110, you only have to win 52.38% of your bets to break even. So if you're taking over-unders, so if we go back to WinBet, right here, if you're taking over-unders, right, the game always goes over or under. So literally, if you're blindly selecting over or under, you're going to win 50% of your wagers. That's a recreational bettor. The sportsbook's advantage on you, forcing you 11 to win back 10 on spreads and totals, is literally just this 2.38%. Very small. Not actually very small. Most people can't beat it. 99 point, whatever percent of sports bettors can't beat it. Once you understand the math, the strategy, how to look at lines and find plays that are winning over 52.4% of the time, you're on your way to profits, right? So all these plays are just, from the EV page. Plain and simple. I also locked in, again, applies to NBA as well. I locked in over 220 in Jazz Clippers. You take a look at the lines, it's like, okay, every sportsbook is pricing this minus 125 to minus 144, except for WinBet. That's a good play, right? So we use all this data in the market, again, to find plays with value. So I locked that in as well. I may need to add a screenshot, but I hit it. So I'll have to add a screenshot for this play. I hit it for 550. So we can continue to go through, because I have an Underdog Fantasy play. Here I have a 2-leg parlay, player props, Shy over, Lori over. Again, right here, 750 plus 256 odds, following the mathematical betting strategy. Different states have different books. I'm home in Virginia for Thanksgiving. You can see here, Betway Virginia, So different books, you definitely want to take advantage of. And you also need multiple sports books because all these sports books have different lines. If we didn't have Betway, we wouldn't have access to this, incredible play. If we didn't have WinBet, we'd be betting the Jazz Clippers if we wanted to take the over at minus 117, right? So you always want to find, value where you can. Always looking for value. So that's my second parlay. And then my final parlay is a fantasy play. It's kind of like a parlay, whatever. But it's Jordan Clarkson over 3.5 rebounds. And then I have, here it is. Jordan Clarkson over, Anders Lee under 2.5 shots on goal, Jordan Clarkson over in rebounds. And then check out this play, Trae Young under 3.5 rebounds. We're getting this at minus 122 implied odds on Underdog Fantasy. And again, I discuss it a lot. You can follow me on Twitter. I'll be giving out a lot more plays live. But also I write some strategy articles on OddsJam. So you can kind of check it out to understand the math behind exactly how, these fantasy companies like Underdog work. But what you'll notice is Trae Young, we're getting him under 3.5 rebounds at minus 122 implied odds. Freaking BetMGM or Sports Illustrated BetMGM, Caesars, they all almost have this as a 2-to-1 favorite. Insane. Pinnacle, sharpest bookmaker, pricing this at minus 189. So we use all this real-time market info. We're not smarter than the market. We treat all these books as independent data points of where the line should be set. We look for value, we make money. So here's that play. And again, I'll be tracking profit and loss. Hopefully you guys are able to tail this one. Under, over. And again, I'll be tracking profit and loss for everything. So I added in this Jazz Clippers, my crazy parlay, and then my NBA parlay. Again, when I started tracking September 12th or whenever, profit and loss, the sheet's in the description. I said I'm not going to do fantasy because it's not technically sports betting. You can go back, watch all my videos if you want to track my fantasy profit and loss. I'm not really sure. We've been on a winning streak. We were on a pretty bad losing streak before. We've actually won our last 3 plays. Let's make money.